Welcome into the Dad Verb Podcast. Topics around parenting from the lens of a dad.
Hey, welcome in, guys. So happy you are here with us today for watching on YouTube. Ben is absent. Ben ain't here today. Instead, we got Grant Smith filling in. He is one of our members in our Discord here, and excited to have him coming in from Alaska. This is fun. This is new. So just real quick. And obviously Andrew Saunders here. What's up, Andrew? How you doing, man?
Thanks. You got a little beard envy this week, do you, Mr. Two? I'm just saying.
A little bit. I always have beard envy with you, man. Grant, man, welcome in. We're excited to have you here today. We're going to be just quickly talking about schedules, life as a dad, right? Not everyone has a standard 9 to 5. So what does that look like? You know, how are we scheduling around different types of work schedules? And that's what Grant is going to be chatting about here. And as you can hear in the background, he's a dad to 3 kiddos, ages 5, 3, 1. You're going to be hearing them in the background too, because that's what this is, guys. This is dad life here. So Grant, just real quick, do you want to give us a quick rundown of who you are, what you've been up to lately as a dad? Huh?
Yeah. Well, as you said, I'm a dad. First of all, been married since 2016. And then Eloise came along in 2018. She's the one who's 5 turning 6 later this next month. And then we have Maximus, who is also turning 3, turning 4 next month.
Good names.
Yeah.
Good names.
And then Odin, who is turning 1 in June. So 3 kids. And I'm a meteorologist with the National Weather Service. The office here is in Juneau, Alaska. And so my days that I work change. I don't, Monday through Friday, I hardly ever do that. There's like usually anywhere between 4 and 7 days in a row. And my hours change. So not only do I sometimes work during the day, 7 to 4, sometimes I work 2 to 11 or 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. So rotating days, rotating hours, and it's just pure chaos. And so it makes dadhood fun.
That's going to be really interesting to understand, how you are able to fit in the things that you need to. And we're going to dive into that. But I mean, if you've listened to the podcast, we like to do a sick check because it's a miracle that all of our kids like to, or if it's a miracle if they can stay healthy. So I guess we're going to do a quick roundtable. Andrew, why don't you kick us off, and then we'll go Grant, and then we'll go me. How you doing? How's the health?
We're good. The coughs have all subsided. The runny noses are being attributed to like hay fever and not actually being sick.
There you go.
There's no symptoms. There's just snot. So that might just be having a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old. I'm not clear at this point. But Mom and I are good, so I'm going with 100%.
What about Grant? How are you doing over there, man?
Oh, well, it was funny because it was about a week or two ago, we heard about strep going through the school. Yeah. And I'm like, oh no. And then apparently there was like a cold going through the school as well. And Eloise did not get sick. Somehow I did. Oh. So that was like last week. Now I'm doing so much better. I was just, of course it was dad cold. So I'm just like knocked out.
We're shut down. That's just how it is. That's not bad.
Yeah. But now we're fine. Now we're fine.
There you go. Well, I'll tell you this. I barely made it to this week's recording because it has been an absolute effing nightmare. Last week, Andrew, we talked about like how my son had just like kind of started throwing up. Yeah. He's still throwing up last night. He still had to throw up. Every single day this past week, there's been someone throwing up, whether it was Colin or Sienna. Henry has been like an absolute miracle because he had a birthday party. And somehow we got to the birthday party and we celebrated that. But this week has been nothing short of an absolute nightmare, dude. This is an honest podcast.
Takes me back to that, you didn't vomit before, and this week just made your life terrible.
Dude, I'll be honest with you, and I'm not going to sugarcoat this or whatever. I've had more fights with my wife this week than our entire marriage. It feels like we've just been so snippy and just like it's just on edge nonstop. Like our kids have really driven us to that level, and the sicknesses have it's been bad, and it's been like a spring break, right? And thank goodness we didn't plan any travel for spring break because we were cooped up in here the whole freaking week. It has been, and then Ben, he shoots us a text, be like, "Yo, I gotta take this week off. It's been a hell of a week." I'm like, you know what, me too. But I'm like, you know what, the show must go on. We are here. Grant's
Ben's
here.
at the bar. Let's be honest. He's got a green pipe in his hand.
Hammered, Ben. Golly. Anywho, so that's the round. In summary, we failed the sick check because that's my bad because we're still dealing with it. But anyway, there we go. Grant, we're happy to have you here, man. So as listeners have already kind of heard and gotten the rundown, he is a meteorologist in Juneau, Alaska, and very beautiful area, by the way. I've been there once, and it is gorgeous. It's stunning. But for Grant here, his schedule is unlike most, right? I have a standard kind of 9 to 5-ish kind of a job, right? But when you don't have that kind of lifestyle, right? Whether you're military, you're a student, you're juggling a master's with work and kids and all that stuff, there are a lot of different ways. It gets complex, and you find it hard to have time for, like, what's the right time for dinner? What's the right time to play and have those bonding moments? What's the right time for sex? What's the right time for working out? What's the right time? So, and it kind of just, your life kind of gets thrown into a tizzy a bit. Grant being a dad of 3, he's kind of got his schedule down here, but we want to hear from him. So I'll leave the floor to you. And I want to start with, what would you say early on when you had Eloise was your first, right? When you had Eloise, what would you say was the hardest adjustment for you to make when it came to time and balance and family and work?
Yeah. So when we had Eloise, I was also at my previous job where I was a local news TV meteorologist. And that schedule, I was on both Saturdays and Sundays. I worked the morning shows and the evening shows. So for 2 days, I was just gone. I was either at work, early in the morning, 2 or 3 in the morning till 7 or 8. Then I'd come home and take a nap and then go back in the afternoon for 8 hours. And so that was the schedule for Saturdays and Sundays. But then you go to the work week. My wife was a nurse, and she worked 2 days during the week. She was part-time. And during the week, I had 3 days off. And so we would try to line those up because I had the freedom to choose what 2 days I worked. And so we would try to line that up. And it was great because then we didn't have to go to daycare. Kids didn't even need to go to grandma's. It was fantastic. And so for 2 days a week, it was just me and Eloise. We would go to the park. We would go walk to the library and back. And I would just rent books or rent movies and then go back and watch them with her because, she's like a month old, so I can watch anything. Mm-hmm. So we went through the entire Marvel series.
We were talking about that on Discord. Like, bond with your kid, watch whatever show you want. They won't understand. Like, Dexter is fine. Just go.
Yeah, so just real quick, some of the names of your kids, are they Marvel inspired by chance?
No, they are not. So
okay. Eloise in Juneau. He is killing the frost giants. Okay?
I was just because
he's got little Odin out there making sure that we're
Maximus
safe.
And Odin are. I mean, I play a lot of Marvel Snap, and they are very meta relevant, and those are good cards to have. I'm just. But Maximus and Odin are very good names. I just had to ask if they were Marvel inspired. Anyway,
no. Eloise was a name my wife had liked just growing up. Yeah, and then Maximus. It was actually a joke. I was watching a movie at work. I was watching Gladiator, and I was just like, wouldn't it be funny if we named our son Maximus? And my wife texts me back with like, I actually like that name. And I'm like, what? This is a different conversation now. Were we about to name my kid Maximus? This is happening.
Man. Does he go by Max, or you always use Maximus?
I go back and forth. Usually it's Max. And then with Odin, it was a friend of ours at church. He never had a son, and he always wanted to name his son Odin after his grandpa. And we're like, well, we're having a boy. We'll name our son Odin because that's a cool name.
Yeah. There you go.
The Norse god.
Yeah. And then
exactly 2 pet ravens that see everything. I mean,
Oh yeah. That's funny. Sorry, I totally steered the conversation off course with like names and Marvel, and
it's fine.
I'm surprised I didn't muscle in Pokemon anywhere in that.
See,
in that
I was
train of thought.
The P word.
We could do that too. I'm looking through Pokemon Violet right now.
I just
caught Mightiest Charizard.
I'm like, oh my gosh. This is amazing. All right. Yeah, there we go. We have to use the Pikachu sound every time we muscle Pikachu into this combo. But anyway, I'm sorry, Pokemon. Okay, but to continue. Okay, so with Eloise, you started to find that balance early in those early months. Did you ever feel guilt of anything with regards to time, or like you weren't doing enough, you weren't present enough? I feel like that's a thing.
Yeah, it is.
A lot of guys.
Certainly early on, because it felt like, I'm also a really heavy sleeper. So like, I could be asleep and a dump truck could drove through the other side of our house and I wouldn't wake up. Like I'm just out. And so when Eloise would wake up in the middle of the night, Amber would be the one to go take care of her. Unless she like elbowed me, and I'm like, "What?
Yeah,
okay, I'll go do it."
Exactly.
I'll go change the diaper at 3 a.m. and I'll try to feed.
Yeah.
And so there's that kind of in the back of my mind of like, am I doing enough? And then of course when you're gone for 2 days, or when severe weather hits and you put in a 20-hour day, and so you're just gone, and the best thing you can do is just text like, "Hey, storms in the area, watch coverage." It's the best I can do.
Yeah.
So there was that. And then also just the job itself, it just takes you away a lot. And then also when you're not on work, you're supposed to be active on social media and tweeting and Facebooking and there's that pull to always post, family relevant things to your work page. And I didn't want to post pictures of my kids to my work page, so I never did. They're just trying to keep us separate. I mean, people knew I had kids, but I didn't like use that to try to gain followers.
Yeah.
And eventually left TV to go to weather service. And that's when Max came along. And I was actually detailing cars at the time in between jobs. And that was fine because that was just like a Monday through Friday. I was like 10 p.m. to 7 p.m. or 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. type shift. So I just closed. And that was fine because you got the weekends off. And then jumped to the weather service where we had the rotating crazy schedules. And that's when things really got to get creative. And how do I spend time with my kids?
Yeah.
So do our listeners a solid and explain the difference between the TV meteorologist, which is what 99% of us see every day, and a weather service meteorologist, which is what you're doing now, because they're not, right? It's not like you're standing up in front of a screen like, this is only for the FAA. Here's your weather out of Juneau, right? Like, what is that portion is, so everybody gets the difference between the two?
Yeah, I would say the big difference is, TV meteorologists, I mean, they're both doing very similar things. You're making the forecast to help people plan their day or keep them safe. When it comes to the weather service, we have a lot of our partners. You got the FAA, Mariners going out fishing. We got AML. I mean, here in Southeast, we help a lot of people do their jobs. A lot of fishermen. You got your tourism industry. Just people going out to catch fish to sell to Costco. I mean, it could be as simple as that. So we do a lot of that kind of forecasting here, but mainly we focus on
you on
hazards.
Deadliest Catch. Is that what I heard?
No, you have not heard me. I've not heard me. But if I was in the Anchorage office, it's very possible they do call. Those captains do call, and I'm a little bit jealous because I'm like, come on, I'm going to talk to them. So boat captains are my favorite people to talk to. They are just so sarcastic and down to earth, and it's amazing.
If they're anything like Deadliest Catch, dude, I want to be homeboys with all of them, man. That is, I would like to go on a vessel one day and go out.
You
want to
be a
greenhorn? I do. Well, I don't want to be like a greenhorn, but I don't want to be like talked down like a little boy, but I do want like somewhat the experience, a respectable experience of going out into the Bering Sea and catching some.
Watched enough. That's not how the experience works.
Well, that's how I want it.
The humiliation is part of it.
Well, come on up to Juneau. We'll find you a boat, and we'll just put you out there.
There you go. I also don't want to be cold or wet, okay? That's how I want to shape my experience.
Okay, you'll need to stay in Texas.
I want my Juneau experience, not the real Juneau experience.
Oh, man. Well, this is slightly off topic, but when I remember going to Juneau, it was like by a dock or whatever. I remember looking out into the trees and just seeing like a bunch of white dots in the trees, and we got binoculars. And like turned out all those white dots were the heads of bald eagles, just like nested all along the pines. And I was like, this is America. This is amazing. Like this is what they look like. And that was like the first time I saw like real bald eagles. That was a cool experience. My first experience seeing bald eagles was in Juneau.
They're everywhere here. I've seen bald eagles fight in midair over a fish. Like, that's just like whatever's normal.
My favorite Instagram is called Nature is Metal, and they show that stuff. I love it, man. It's amazing.
If you drive down the highway, you'll see anywhere between 1 or 3 bald eagles on each like street light by the water, just waiting for low tide or high tide to get lunch. They're just.
I find that fascinating. I feel like I don't get to see that kind of stuff. So what's happening now, listeners and viewers on YouTube? What's happening now is I've been cooped up in my house with sick kids the whole time, and there are these 2 men here. I'm like, wow. This is really cool to talk to other humans. Like I didn't even go into work this week. I had to stay home and help. So I was just like, dude. So now I'm like veering left and right, all these random things with Grant. I'm like, this is cool to talk to someone that's not my wife right now.
That is the thing. That is the thing.
You're saying I shouldn't bring up the local pork producer who, when he throws out a pork carcass, you get 30 or 40 bald eagles just swarming like his back door, and you can watch them dive and take chunks out of this. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. It's on the highway on the way to my house. You want to see more bald eagles? Come up to Iowa. We got plenty. They hang out.
That's
here.
legit. That's legit. Yep. All right, I'm sorry that I keep on veering off with this thing. But okay, so Grant, can you paint me a picture of what would? Yes, they're called tangents. Can you paint me a picture of what you have settled into, like with your schedule, like what you've kind of allotted important time for? Break it down from the moment you wake up, moment you go to bed. What is your schedule like? Because I think that this is actually quite a common question that I hear often. Like, how do you fit in everything in your day? What is it for you?
Yeah, well, for me, it's first of all, when do I work, and then how can I fit my schedule of my work schedule, the off time? How can I help my wife get ready for the day when I'm going to be gone for 9 hours? Yeah. So if I'm working the day side, which is 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., and I get up at 6, usually I can hear one of my kids already awake, and they'll come out and hang out with me. But in the mornings, I'll try and get my own breakfast, my own lunch for the day. But I'll also pack my daughter's lunch. So that way when Amber gets up, it's already there ready to go. She doesn't have to do that. The sandwich is made, the snacks are made, everything. So all she has to do is take it, put it in the backpack. And that's the best I can do in that hour that I have in the morning. And then I come home, try to get off as soon as possible. You get home and you put your stuff away and start messing with the kids, playing with them, tackling them, wrestling them, playing with them, playing games. Eloise likes to play board games, so we'll bring those out. Max likes to wrestle, so I throw him around on the bed, get them worn out, carry Odin around for a while. I mean, you just jump right in and embrace the chaos that is multiple kids. And just you go with that until the day's done. And then, usually Amber will cook dinner, and my contribution to that is I try to clean dishes. And that's usually when
there you go.
That's usually when you join me. That's usually when I listen to the podcast. As I put you up on the
there
shelf
you go.
And I listen. So
that's awesome.
Fair enough.
Awesome.
And then afterward, the kids are in bed. I read them books. I read them, bedtime stories, and then put them to sleep. And then when I work the evening shift, which is 2 p.m. to 11 p.m., the morning is a lot more wide open to do things, and so like right now, I can take Eloise to school, and then I can take her to school. We can go to Costco. I mean, we get to go to Costco, go grocery shopping at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. We don't have to wait for the weekend. And then a lot of times, when the kids start getting all antsy, I just take them and we go get in trouble. That's what I usually say. Let's go get in trouble. We just go wander around. We go look at the TVs. We go look at the video games. We go look at the jewelry. We go look at the medicine. We just walk around and just to try to keep them distracted. A couple of times we have gotten in trouble. I usually find things that I'm like, ooh, I kind of need that. And then we'll buy it. Yeah. The more expensive one was we found
I want to know what you found.
Well, one time, this was early on when we were here, and this is just super Alaskan. When you go on hikes outside the city, you have to have bear protection. You got your bear spray.
Oh my gosh.
And that's one thing. But they also recommend 10 millimeter. And one time we were at the store and we were going for like hiking boots. And so I grabbed Max and let's go get in trouble. And we go walk over. I was constantly looking for ammo for my hunting rifle. They didn't have any, but they just happened to have a Glock 20 10 millimeter. And I'm like, oh, well, we need one.
Perfect.
Honey, are you okay if we buy this gun?
How much did that run you?
It's like 800, 900, something like that. Went out for hiking boots,
a couple small things,
came
back with with bear defense. There you go. That's what that is. A gun, bear defense. There you go. So, all right, now I'm curious. So in kind of the rough schedule that you've kind of like laid out, generally speaking, I am missing you time. What about you? So, I mean, I don't know what your what your hobbies are, whether that's like, I don't know, playing music or watching shows or working out or doing whatever. But I think one thing that a lot of, whether it's like nurses or doctors or, warehouse people or police officers or whatever, that have off hours, right? They'll find the way to balance work and family. But what about you? And I'm curious, where do you find those pockets for yourself?
Well, the pockets for myself, when I work evening shift, I get off at 11 p.m. and get home and everyone's already asleep. So that right there is an hour and a half where I can just chill out to a show that I'm watching or maybe a movie that I've seen 100 times. Read a book, play some video games. I'm big in Nintendo. Yes, the Pokemon games, but right now I'm working through Metal Gear. And so that buys me a little bit of time there. Or
are we switching or are we Game Boy? I'm just
Nintendo switching. I'm switching.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes.
And then the more fun me time is when the salmon are running. And when I work evening shift, what I do is I'll just take Eloise to school and then just keep driving out the road and go fishing. Like you just throw the gear in the back and just keep going. Sometimes I'll bring Max.
That's fantastic.
Sometimes it'll be just me.
Right.
Sometimes it'll be everybody. And we just go fishing, see if we can catch something. And if we do,
why did
great.
it take you 3 hours to drop your daughter off at school? And you came home smelling a fish.
Here's a fish, So
here's dinner.
Done. I'll process it. And so that's kind of how you find the me time during the evening shift. And then during when I work the day shifts, it's just, it is what it is. You just wait for your days off because when you come home at 4, the evenings are so cramped. Once the kids are in bed, it's just kind of me and wife time watching our shows. We've been working through also playing Nintendo as well. So we play some games together or we just have quiet time and read. I mean, you spend time together. The hardest is when I work night shift, which is 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. And I do a split
How often
napping.
is that?
Our rotation is like once every 7-ish weeks. So our rotation is 14 weeks right now. And so twice during that 14 weeks, you have a string of 7 mids, so 7 night shifts. Ooh. And that can get rough, because I split my naps. So I'll get off at 7, come home, help get the day going, and then go home and go to the bed and crash.
Yeah.
And wake up around lunchtime, help put lunches away, get lunches going. Help put the kids down for a nap for their afternoon nap. And then it's just me and Amber time in the afternoon. And then when the kids wake up, you go from there and you spend the rest of the night, rest of the evening. And around 5 or 6 is when I go down for my nap. And this is where we had to learn to teach the kids that, okay, daddy's going down for a nap. They actually put me down for a nap. So they will read me stories.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
Yeah. So they'll sit there with like, little critter or Curious George and they'll just describe what's happening on the picture. Now, there's a couple books that Eloise will read, and they just read me stories and put dad down for his nap, and then they go back outside, and I just go to sleep. That we had to learn. That one we had to learn is how do you get the kids to understand that dad's going down for a nap because he's working when you're sleeping.
Yeah.
But we figured it out. Took a couple of trials and got to work.
So, because of work, have you missed any sort of major milestones? Whether that was like potty training, first steps, or anything, first bike ride, or I don't know, anything like that, because of work, or do you feel like you've been able to find enough balance where you were present for all of those things?
Yeah, we've missed a couple of things, and then Amber will send me a video of it. Eloise, gets on the bike without training wheels, and she'll just go back and forth on the street here. That happened recently because we've have all the snow has melted enough that she can get on her bike again. And we kind of barely got to the edge of that last fall, and so she was kind of getting used to it. But now she just hops on and goes. But she just sends me a video on that. And it's good. I did miss Max crawling for the first time because we were moving from South Dakota to Alaska. So I was on the road and she sends me a picture of like, Max is crawling. And I'm like, dude, you weren't crawling 2 hours ago. What are you doing? So I missed that. That was a bummer.
You waited for me to leave? Yeah.
So, what I'm grateful, what I hope that a lot of people will kind of take away from this is it's possible, right? Especially we hear a lot from guys who are in the early months where it's just really hard and really bleak.
It's a grind.
And it's very hard. It's tough, but just patience, persistence, just kind of getting through it. You're going to fall into the same rhythm as Grant and you're just going to figure it out. You're going to make it work. But like there is a light at the end of the tunnel is kind of the main thing that I just wanted to push out to all the guys who are kind of early into that fatherhood journey. It's easy for us to kind of look back and be like, yeah, it's just kind of how it was. It's a grind. And here it is now. But like when you're actually in it, it sucks and it feels bleak and it feels like, man, when is this going to end? Like, what is this? And I guess that was the main takeaway that I wanted people to pull from this. Yeah, you don't see an end. It's really hard. Right. I don't see an end right now with my kids vomiting.
This is another 18 years of this. Like it's
right.
Like you don't see that it will get better, even though we're all telling you it gets better.
Yeah,
right.
But I remember early on.
Go ahead.
Just early on with Eloise, we're trying to figure out feeding and how that works, and we were just not getting it down. And I remember just like this inward fear of nighttime. Because during the day, it's sunny out, you can open up the windows, you can drink coffee, and it's easy to keep yourself awake. But then once the sun goes down, you hit 10 o'clock, and we just know Eloise isn't going to sleep, and I'm just dead tired. And I remember just like being afraid of nighttime because she's going to need us, and I can't stay awake. And it was rough. Yeah. It was rough those early months.
Are you far enough north you don't have you get like the 6 months of it never actually sunsets or the sun only goes down for an hour?
Does that affect you guys?
Like how has that affected you guys and your kids? And right, because it's really easy for me to be like, no, the sun's not out, go to bed. Like
it is a little rough in the summertime because the sun is just up. I mean, we do get it probably sets. It gets dark enough, twilight, say like, I don't know, 11, 12, midnight or so, and then starts to rise up around
midnight, twilight, right around midnight.
Yeah. And then, say about 2 or 3 in the morning, it starts to come back up. So when you get up at 6 a.m., it's just bloop, there. And so that's, there he is. And so it's a little rougher, but then in the wintertime, not only do we have the wintertime of the darkness and the sun just not being there, but there's also just the clouds and the snow. And so, the sun comes up according to the internet at like 9-10, but because it's to get over the mountains, we don't see the sun until like 10 o'clock. And by 3:30 in the afternoon, we're shutting the blinds because it's so dark out. So that can be a big factor. That's why in the summertime, you just enjoy it as much as you can. If low tide is at 10 p.m., we're going to go fishing because it's sunny out. We're going to go outside. We're going to go on a hike. We're going to go to the glacier and go on a hike at 10 o'clock at night. It's just what you do.
Has that interrupted your kids' ability to like do sleep scheduling, sleep training, right? I mean, especially you said you had a 1-year-old, right? Is that an effect, or are you noticing it, or have you guys gotten really good at like, no, we have blackout curtains and we use these things called light bulbs in this modern age? You moron. Like,
I think in the in the summertime, I think our blackout curtains probably help a little bit more than that. I know in the wintertime we just get you just get stuck in the house and you have to force yourself to get outside because if you wait till it to stop raining or stop snowing, you'll never go outside. So you just throw on your gear. Yes, it's going to take 15 minutes, 20 minutes to get on the rain boots and the rain pants and the rain jacket and the hats. It's going to take you forever to get out the door. And then they're going to fall in the snow and get wet and then cry and want to come back in. But you just do it. You just muscle and get outside. run around in the snow,
I'm
and it's going to be fun.
It's
Yeah.
so damn true. Everything he's saying.
I'm never going back to Alaska, Dad. Miami for life.
Yeah, and when it
He
snows,
traumatized me with the puddles.
when it snows, my kids want to go shovel, and so they're the ones dragging me out to go shovel the 2 inches of snow that fell. And in my mind, I'm like, it's 2 inches of snow. I'm not going to touch that. But nope, we have to go out there and shovel. So we put on our gear and go shovel.
Right. And they're done after 5 minutes in one row, and you've got the rest of the driveway because you started.
Yeah.
Ain't that the truth, though? Ain't that the truth, though?
Yeah.
Seriously. Gosh. And it took you 20 minutes to get ready, right? And go out the door?
Yeah.
I feel like it always takes forever.
Yeah. And when I'm gone for long times, when the kids start to miss me, they just send me videos. And so that's something else that we've really caught on, is that either when I miss them or they miss me, they just send me a text message or video. And that seems to work.
That's real sweet.
That modern technology.
I'm glad that we were able to chat with you and kind of get a perspective of something that's not traditional in a location that's not traditional, not mainland, New York, USA. It's cool to hear that and kind of the shift that you guys need to make and the adjustments that are part of your family. So thank you for taking the time. Just real quick, I just want to finish off, just final way to get to know you. Best and worst movies in the MCU.
Oh, best and worst.
Yeah, you got to give me one of each. We'll all go. Saunders, you got a couple in your head?
Oh, I can knock a couple out. Yeah.
Okay. Then, Grant, if you need a minute, we can each go.
Well, I think I can think of my favorite. My favorite one is Infinity War.
Okay.
Because I love the dark ending.
That's respectable.
The bad guys lost. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
That's fair.
And then the one that I like is the least favorite, the one I skip over. Yeah. Would probably have to be the second or third Iron Man. But I'm not also I'm not also a big Iron Man guy. I'll go through a Thor story arc or a Captain America story arc or a Black Panther story arc. I'll watch those just over and over. But Iron Man, I'm Iron Man 1 and then I'm good to go.
I felt the same way toward Thor. I feel like the first couple Thors, especially the second one, I'd say I think that's Dark. I forgot the title. That second Thor didn't do it for me. I think so, yeah. That one, I didn't do it for me, but it wasn't until Ragnarok that I was like,
by the way,
oh yeah, I know, probably. We probably are going to get lit up in the comments. I don't know. That'd be my that's my least. For me, my favorite though, I know it's probably not. I mean, there are some better ones out there, but the first Avengers that came out in 2012 is my favorite, also because that was the movie that I met my wife in. So that
there we go.
That it has significance.
So it has nothing to do with the movie. It could have been Bambi. He would have been it's the best movie ever.
It was also the first time where everyone from their origin stories kind of came together, and there's that kind of circle camera motion of them all in New York about to fight the.
He likes the cinematography.
Yeah, and then they're about to beat up on Loki and his army. So it wasn't his army. It was. What was the name of that army? It was
the Chitauri.
Chitauri. It was Chitauri. Yeah, but anyway, I love that first Avengers. Also, another runner-up for least favorite. I didn't like the Eternals. I was not a fan of that one. Did you guys like the Eternals?
I haven't finished it yet.
I haven't actually watched it. I haven't watched it because I've heard the two extremes. People like it or people don't, and I'm okay, I'll skip it and watch Moon Knight again.
Freaking Moon Knight was good.
So best one, Edward Norton's Hulk, which happens
Edward Norton's Hulk.
I believe the first Hulk movie in the MCU.
It was great. It was,
and then they swapped him out for Mark Ruffalo. So that one is, in my opinion, one of the better portrayals of the Hulk character and the Hulk origin story that has been done throughout the years.
I would,
and then
I'm curious. I wish he had more time as Hulk. There are things behind the scenes that it kind of fell apart, but I'm curious as to what he would have been.
Bruce Banner.
He was a good
like
Bruce.
To see him go through the MCU. It's unfortunate that let's just say his ego got in the way of allowing him to continue that character.
That.
Yep.
All right, and then worst.
See, this is hard for me because I've got so many like they were okay, but they weren't great.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna go Ant-Man and Wasp.
Oh, I liked
Ant-Man
it.
was a good storyline, and we needed the Ant-Man origin story. But then Ant-Man and Wasp, it was like, you guys are killing me.
Yeah.
And then it killed it so much. I haven't even watched the Quantum one yet. I want to.
I feel like that may have been a little bit better. Well, I don't know. It's hit or miss because like the introduction of Kang, that was kind of like it wasn't the introduction of Kang, but he was in it. But
yeah.
Anyway.
And what I'm getting is I didn't need to see that movie to participate in the greater universe at this point. And so that's where the movies fall out. Like, if your movie existing is necessary for the bigger storyline, I'm in. And I'll at least give you like 4 out of 5. But I feel like we could just ditch Ant-Man and Wasp and the story would move on. And like Eternals. I think we could just ditch Eternals and the storyline would move on and we'd all be okay.
Well,
right?
Like you said, I don't know. We're probably going to get flamed in the comments for this stuff. But let us know either way. But the bigger thing, thank you to Grant for joining us for this week's episode. And if you are a person who kind of has a schedule that isn't what we deem as traditional, right? I would love to hear your thoughts and share what family time looks like for you and how you like to balance that all out and where you're able to find time for stuff for you, for family, for work. Love to hear that. And I think a lot of people like reading and understanding and just knowing that they don't feel alone in that struggle, because it is a struggle.
Yeah.
But Grant, again, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. That'll do it for this week's episode of the Dad Verb Podcast. Check the links in the show notes or the YouTube description if you want to join us on Discord. And you can also visit dadverb.com for courses from pregnancy up through year 1 of fatherhood. As always, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.